All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, November 24th. We got a 6-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. Talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the final plays. You can find more about that in the pinned comment. The final plays, what I'm actually rolling with myself. So make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment there. In terms of yesterday, a slight little reverse dustpan there. We have two half-unit plays. Bulls team total under 120.5. They scored like 199. And the Warriors money line, this one looked like, and there should be no sure thing, but it looked like a sure thing until the fourth quarter rolled around. They literally lost the fourth quarter by like 20 points. They scored, was it 13 or 14 fourth quarter points? So you know what? One more. We deserve the womp womp for that. For both the calls, but then how we lost it. So we got the mini reverse dustpan there. And honestly, the vibes don't get any better. We have the longest ride of the day streak ever in the channel history with Jacob here come to an end. But we're not dropping the womp womp. We're going to applaud it. Even though Alfie Sengun here crushes Jacob and the ride of the day in the streak that we were on, he still went in, 7 days in a row cash for us. So shout out to Jacob. Jacob down in the comments because that was a great run there. Sengun looked like he might have a chance to stay under and then just slowly kept climbing. So shout out to Jacob, guys. If you don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also put it on the Guy Boston site as well as on my Twitter for people to be able to see and ride as a community. And I'm going to be picking one today because if you do win, we continue to roll with your plays. But now that the ride of the day is up for grabs, everybody's play down there is viable. Make sure it is inside. Can we say that correctly? Inside minus 150 odds, though, so that we can have one that's not too juicy for everyone to ride and everyone can be happy, all right? So go ahead and drop those in the comments there. But yeah, what do you say we jump into today's slate? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get going. All right, we're starting off with my Boston Celtics taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves here. We've been talking about the Timberwolves in multiple different ways so far this year because at times they look so good and then they look bad. They're coming off of a loss in which, they're like 9.5. It got down to like 8-point favorites against Toronto and they lose the game outright. Now, Toronto had a hell of a fourth quarter and whatnot, but still a loss to Toronto. Not exactly what people saw coming. The Celtics cruising 8-2 in their last 10 games. Their losses, somewhat of a letdown. I mean, that loss to Golden State makes sense. Golden State looked really good. They lose that Atlanta thriller. It's like this is still, in my opinion, and it should be in a lot of people's opinion, the best team in the league, even though the Cavs have a better record and whatnot. We saw when they played the Cavs, they were dominating for most of the game, end up only winning by 3 because that Cavs team is damn good. But still, this 8 points doesn't make me shake my boots all that much. The only thing that does, so if I just put these two teams next to each other, I think that the Celtics are so much better than Minnesota. Al Horford is questionable. I will throw that out there. He didn't play last game, but the only thing that really makes me kind of think like, oh boy, what are we doing here in terms of laying 8 points is the fact that these teams love to play, even dating back to last year, love to play close games. 3 games ago, decided by 2 points. 2 games ago, decided by 5 points in overtime. And then last time they played last year in January, 127-120 win in overtime for the Celtics. So, yeah, they play close games. They match up fairly well. If we do jump into the dashboard really quickly, you could see it here. Neither team, one, likes to shoot in the restricted area over the last 10, right? Neither team really likes to score in the restricted area, which kind of comes via not shooting in the restricted area. But also, both teams aren't all that tremendous at stopping the restricted area, the points in the paint and that type of thing, right? But down here, they love to shoot from outside and score from outside. You can even see with the frequency chart. But they also stop it. You have the number 1 and number 2 team going up against one another here in terms of points allowed from 3 this season. So, yeah, this is a tough one. I do like the Celtics. I think that they can pull away. They're more versatile. But I like an under here. Maybe a Minnesota team total under could be the move. But I also like the under overall. I don't think either team is going to be all that crazy. But like I said, the one thing that worries me about even a Celtics pick would be the fact that they are so versatile. And even if a team does take out the perimeter, they are still good enough to get to the paint. Same thing with the Timberwolves, but I think the Celtics are just a tad bit better, defensively, in my opinion, this year. The Timberwolves, the reason they're 8-7 has been some defensive struggle. So give me the Celtics, the under, as well as the Minnesota team total under. From a player prop perspective, I don't mind a Dante DiVincenzo look at under 2.5 threes here. A little juicy there at minus 130 for one, something that he can definitely hit if he just gets hot, but the minutes haven't totally been there, right? He played 30 minutes last game, but prior to that, he's playing 25, 19, 22. If his minutes aren't all that high against the Celtics, which would be nice, then I don't see him making, 3 threes easily against this perimeter defense of the Celtics. Next up, we have Indiana taking on Washington. Indiana, big favorites in this one, 11.5. That total is way up there at 243 as well, which makes sense, right? You have two teams that I wouldn't necessarily give the best defensive team in the league award to. So far this year, Indiana 25th in terms of defensive efficiency. Washington, you guessed it, dead last. And these are both top 10 pace teams as well. So that makes sense. That total's way up there. What I don't like about it, and we are starting with the total, is that I don't think either one of these teams have really hit their offensive stride. Washington, obviously, but even Indiana, like they're not playing like the Pacers that we knew last year. They're kind of giving you a consistent, what would you say, minus, more like a 115, right? I don't know why I said minus, but overall, this is a spot in which that total seems a little too high. I don't think that I can jump to an under that easily because the defense is so bad and both teams play at a high pace, but I'm just saying I'm not so comfortable with the overs. That's why I started with it. Nothing really confident on my end there. What I do, and sound the psycho alert alarm here. What I do feel somewhat confident in is that number and getting those points with Washington. I know, absolutely crazy, but has this really been an Indiana team that can pull away from people this year? We haven't necessarily seen it. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games here. Their wins have been kind of weird, fluky wins. Like they're beating really good teams, losing to bad teams. A couple of their wins have been Dallas, Orlando, New York. Those are the last, and then they beat, who did they beat? Miami, I believe. They split to Miami, right? So yeah, like they're beating teams other than that Miami. Those other 3 are pretty damn good teams. Washington isn't. I don't think that Indiana keeps the pedal to the metal in a game like this. Now, one thing to note, and it's a big note that we want to monitor for Washington here, would be that Jordan Poole is listed as questionable here. Friday's game, I think he hurt his hip against Boston, which obviously hip injuries can go multiple ways. Like you don't know if it's bad or if it's just kind of a tweak. I think the reports or what came out was that it was a tweak, right? So hopefully that's the case. If he plays, there is a chance that I like Washington in this spot. The one thing, like I said, that can keep me off of it is if Jordan Poole doesn't play, and the fact that we gotta, do we have the cojones to pull trigger on Washington? That might be a little nuts, right? But overall, the reason being, let's get into that, why I don't mind it, is that both of these teams do like to score in the paint, and both these teams, much like we talked about with the Celtics and Timberwolves, aren't exactly the best teams at stopping opponents from scoring in the paint. In fact, in the restricted area here, last 10 games, Indiana allowing opponents a 70% field goal percentage. Washington in the restricted area, top 10 in the league over the last 10 games of field goal attempts per game in the restricted area. So I think that they may be able to score a little bit easier than they have against some other teams. Now, the one call for concern would be, well, Boston's not all that great in their perimeter and at the paint, right? And we didn't really see Washington stick with Boston. Oh, but we did. They actually kept it to damn near this number. They only lost to Boston 108-96. You know what I mean? So even a way better team, they only lost by 12. That was a bigger spread. So to me, I use that as, okay, yeah, that looked good. And what I will say is the 2 guys, Jordan Poole being crucial here as well, the 2 guys that like to shoot in the paint and at the restricted area, aka at the rim. When I say in the paint, I mean the restricted area circle kind of extended to the foul line, right? Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole. So I wouldn't even mind maybe saying, hey, it's a little crazy to roll with Washington, with the plus points, but we could look at some sort of a same game parlay where we take like 15 plus points from Kuzma, 15 plus points from Poole, something like that, and put them together. They both need to do it, but if we did, it wouldn't look all that bad, right? So I like Kuzma and Poole, but I also, like I said, maybe kind of crazy, but don't mind Washington plus the points. But we'll see if I have the cojones and to be able to pull the trigger on that, because that is a psycho move. But what is not a psycho move? And it really isn't. I know we're talking basketball here, but Underdog does have a Matt Stafford 0.5 total yards square for Sunday today. Go ahead and check it out, guys. That link will be down below, description, pinned comment. I'll also put it on the Guy Boston site there. Go add this to your entry. Super easy one here. 0.5 total yards for Stafford. He can run for it. He can pass for it. I think we all know, even if he has a bad game, he's going to at least pass for 1 yard. If you guys don't know what Underdog is, it is a DFS app. You pick higher or lower based on player set projections. You put them into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. You can run up to like 1,000 times over there, which is crazy. So go check out Underdog, guys. Legal in most states, which is really cool as well. But yeah, go make those entries. Add this one in there. It's just going to boost the payout. Go check out Underdog. Link down below. And guys, our NFL video here, where is it? Right there, it is live on the channel for today's games, the Sunday slate. So make sure to go ahead and check that out as well right here on the More Guy Boston Sports channel. Go check out those plays and make sure to keep an eye on the final plays on the Guy Boston Sports site for those as well. All right, Philadelphia taking on the Clips here. Now, I know I've been talking about Philadelphia and that at some point I do believe that they're going to get better and all this, but I don't really think that this is the spot to do it. They are out just like they were at the beginning of the year, right? Joel Embiid and Paul George. So their starting lineup is now Maxey, McCain, Oubre, Martin, and Yabusele, which doesn't scream W's to me. You know what I mean? Now, I'll give them credit. They beat Brooklyn. Brooklyn's been a decent against the spread team for sure this year, right? But obviously some injuries impact that. And you're catching the Clippers on a little bit of a run here. 4 straight wins. Now, they were all at home, so that's worth noting. This is a Clippers team that has been way better at home than on the road this year. 7-4 at home, 3-3 on the road. But you have Philadelphia, who just has been bad overall, right? They have 3 wins. But they've won 4 straight, the Clippers have. Utah, okay, whatever. But then they beat Golden State, Orlando, and Sacramento. I give them credit for all 3 of those wins. So, yeah, they were underdogs in all 3 of those as well. So they're slight favorites here. Give me the Clips. This should be a low-scoring game just based on how these two teams play. You have Philadelphia, the 4th slowest team in the last 10 games. Clippers kind of middle of the pack, but the Clippers not exactly shooting at a high frequency either in terms of field goal attempts per game. So I think this should be a slow one. I'm not going to be touching that 209 because in my brain, I'm like, I know this is a low-scoring, slow kind of affair, right? I get that. But 209 seems super low, so I'm like tempted to push the red button and hit the over because it's just so low, and these are NBA teams. I'm going to try and be disciplined and not get to that, so I will lean towards the under because, again, these are 2 teams that should have better defenses than honestly, their offenses. And in fact, if you look at the efficiency numbers, we can jump back into the dashboard here too. Right up here, offensive efficiency. You can see in the league so far this year, LA 23rd, Philadelphia 28th. Defensively, LA top 6, and then Philadelphia a lot better than their offense there at 17th. So yeah, I think this is a low scoring one, but give me the Clippers. I like this spot. This is probably just a money line play. You can get fine odds. Clippers -120 right now over on FD. That's probably the move. And like I said, a slight lean towards the under, and no major player props as of right now that I'm liking. I will say if Embiid were playing, I think that he could have a good spot here in terms of being able to score at the rim, but he's not playing, so I don't think I'm going to look at Yabusele and say, hey, next man up, you know what I mean? All right, Miami's taking on Dallas. Let's talk some injuries before we do dive into this one. You should know, or if you don't, by the way, Luka Doncic is out for, I don't know how much longer, but a little bit of time, right? Daniel Gafford listed as questionable in this one. And then on the Miami side of things, Jimmy Butler listed as questionable and Terry Rozier listed as probable. So obviously 2 major pieces for them, right? No Luka Doncic, I talked about it last time out, does worry me for the Mavs, but we even liked the Mavs against Denver to some degree, right? They ended up winning that game outright. They're 4-point dogs. So I think I'm going to look at the Mavs here again today. This offense, 121, 132, and then without Luka, 123. I don't see how Miami keeps up with those types of points. And even Miami from a defensive perspective this season, like, we know that they are a good defense, right? They just have that in their DNA and their blood, but they have been kind of middle of the pack so far. They play at a slow pace, so you look at their points per game and say, oh, top 10 teams in terms of points per game allowed. But their defensive efficiency, which I like way more than just looking at points per game because, you know, pace doesn't dictate it as much, obviously, and they're middle of the pack at 14th. So it's like, this Miami team isn't all that great. And even if we want to talk defense, Dallas is a good defense this year. They're a top 10 team in terms of defensive efficiency. So yeah, I look at this one and say, Dallas all the way. Now, I want Gafford to play. I'd want Luka to play. Obviously, he's not playing, but those types of spots for me, it's like this seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes those no-brainers are the ones that just absolutely flip on your head. But yeah, give me them in this spot. I will also say I obviously like Kyrie Irving without Luka. We see him step up in a big way here. I mean, last game he had 19 points and 6 assists without Luka. It's like, he's due for a lot better than that, right? And against Miami last time he had them played them, he had 25 points last season. So him coming off the spot in which you probably thought he would do a little bit better without Luka and kind of filling in for him, he didn't. I kind of like Kyrie in a backup and a bounce back spot here. I also don't mind, like I mentioned, I hope Daniel Gafford plays because I don't mind Daniel Gafford in this spot against Miami either, being able to score in the paint. Miami, if you look at their numbers, again, they're like good defensively, but nothing great. But if you really look at it, their points in this paint in terms of restricted area, so right at the restricted area, which Daniel Gafford leads the Mav last 10 games in terms of field goal attempts per game in the restricted area, Miami allowing nearly 74% to players down there, which is, an alarming number. So if we can get a Gafford line, I know he's not starting, and I know he's questionable. If we can get a Gafford line, it may be something worth looking at. From a total perspective, I would almost say just give me the Mavs team total over and call it a day in a sense. Like, I don't really know if Miami contributes to an over, but I do think Dallas's offense should be able to score on Miami. So I'm trying to step back and say, hey, even if Dallas plays some good defense on Miami, we only need to worry about them scoring. If I did a total over here, then if Dallas played their best basketball, they probably end up winning by like 10 points, in a spot in which they scored a lot of points and Miami didn't really score, as many. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I'm trying to eliminate variables and just looking at Dallas team total over in this spot. All right, Cleveland taking on Toronto. Now, this number is a little bit too big for me, to be completely honest, at 12. I know that they're the better team and whatnot. I just got finished, saying how much I like this team, right? But Toronto is a decent against the number team so far this year, 11-5. The one thing I'll say is that they are 0-8 on the road. And that's obviously worth noting. This Cleveland team still undefeated at home. They're home here. So if you like Cleveland today, go for it. I'm not trying to talk you off it or anything like that, right? But the one thing that I look at here and say, okay, well, why? What can we do? If say we like I'm saying, I like Cleveland, but that number's a little bit too scary. What can we do? I'm actually looking at Cleveland first quarter, Cleveland first half. This Toronto offense and defense actually not all that tremendous in the first quarter, in the first half. So I do think that Cleveland, we can avoid the big numbers, say Cleveland -2.5 first quarter, Cleveland -4 first half, something like that. Yes, it's getting a little nitpicky, and sometimes those don't always work out. Like, you rarely see me throwing out first half or first quarter plays, right? But I think that we just talked about kind of eliminate variables and whatnot. We don't have to worry about blowout. We don't have to worry about this, just like we have to worry about Cleveland coming out and being the better team immediately like they are. And I'm already telling you that Toronto is bad on the road, right? So yeah, I know it's kind of nitpicky, but Cleveland first quarter, Cleveland first half is how I would look at this. The numbers I got, again, -2.5 first quarter, -4 first half, but we'll keep an eye on those odds throughout the day. In terms of what we like from a total perspective, I'm looking at under. I think that Cleveland should be able to score, but people just sleep on how good defensively Cleveland is, right? Like, part of them coming back, and they still lost, but part of them coming back against the Celtics and whatnot was totally that they started to clamp up defensively. The Celtics still were pouring in threes, but if you looked at how they were scoring, it was these crazy, make threes. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't, wide open type things. Like, this is a very good defensive team, and this could be a game in which we saw they played New Orleans, right? Just last game. They scored 128, so you're probably like, wow, 128, that's definitely an over. They beat them by 28. New Orleans only scored 100. Now, I do think the Raptors probably put up a little bit more of a fight than that, but if this is like a 125 to 110 game, we're still looking at an under 236. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the under, trusting Cleveland's defense here, but I do like them first quarter and first half. In terms of player props, both teams do like to shoot at the rim. Toronto, not all that great at stopping. Cleveland, also very good at stopping rim points. So there you go. There's another reason why we might like them. But what do I like when I go and look at Cleveland against teams that are bad at stopping the paint, right? I like Evan Mobley. I like Jared Allen. The problem being in this spot is probably, one, scarcity of that blowout potential, right? And two, Evan Mobley's line is just shooting up right now. Jared Allen's is as well. They're catching up to what we like here. But if we can do some sort of a maybe same game parlay where we bring those numbers down and put them together, that might be a spot. But I do like both those guys. Mobley at 17.5, Jared Allen at 15.5. But again, those are it's really stinks when you're looking at these lines. You do it every day. And a week ago, you're getting Mobley at 14.5. Now it's 17.5, right? Like, that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Same thing with Allen. So there's blowout potential. I like those player props. But guys, if you know the NBA, you know that it's the National Blowout Association, right? Big game, big good teams and big numbers, and against bad teams. Sorry, Toronto, bad teams comparatively could lead to, Mobley having 17 points and he doesn't play the last half of the fourth quarter. And it's like, I need one more point. Happens all the time. All right, guys, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 19. Let me know that you made it this far. We do this a lot in videos, and I haven't given the explanation as to why. One, obviously, I make these videos with the hope that people watch it all the way through. Why? I don't know. I don't know why you listen to this annoying voice and craziness for 19 straight minutes. That's on you, but I'm so thankful that you do. But I like doing that because we get comments every single time being like, why is everyone commenting 19? And it's like, if you know, you know. Like, we can suss out the real ones, the OGs, from the guppies. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why is everyone commenting 19? Or what do you think of this game? And I'm like, dude, the point of the show is that I break down each game. Listen to that game part. But anyways, comment 19 if you made it that far. That's why I do it. I get a chuckle out of, maybe I shouldn't, maybe it's immature, but I do get a chuckle out of when someone's like, what is 19? Why is everyone commenting 19? Or I'm confused. What's 19? It's like, I just give them like the side-eye emoji, being like, if you know, you know. Anyways, back to basketball here. The Sacramento Kings taking on the Brooklyn Nets. This Sacramento team, if you do look at their roster and their name, like the names on their roster, Fox, Herter, DeRozan, Murray, and Sabonis as a starting five, you'd be like, they're probably cruising. They're having a great year, right? Wrong. They're 8-8. Like, this, I don't know. It's very tough to see guys that you like and like a team that you like, and we liked them a lot last year. Then they get DeRozan, like, but they're just not performing like they should. This is a big number for them, and I get that. And I think had this been Brooklyn at home, Sacramento on the road, I'd probably like Brooklyn plus the points, but this should be a bounce-back spot for Sacramento. They've lost four of their last 6 games, and they're losing to teams like badly. Like LA beat them, the Clippers, 104-88. Like, they should be a little bit better than this, and they're catching Brooklyn in a spot in which Brooklyn's not playing the best of games. Do you know what I mean? They were really good. They were really good against the spread. They are 0-2-1 in their last 3 against the spread. So give me Sacramento in this spot. Obviously, Brooklyn's a little banged up as well. Starting Ben Simmons at the 5 here. Finney Smith is also questionable in this one, so this should be a Sacramento cleanup spot, but I don't know. I don't know if I have the confidence in them to actually make it a final play right now. And like I said, if this was Brooklyn at home, I'd probably look at Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's straight up this year, 2-7 on the road. Like, they're a lot different of a team, and at least what we can say about Sacramento is, they're 4-4 at home. It's a little bit better. Is it great? No, but it is clearly a better record than 2-7. So tough one to actually get to here, like I mentioned, but to me, this is probably a decent spot for it. I'd also look at Fox. I think that he's been obviously having a good year, and is he still the top points per game scorer? Let me check that. Okay, no, he's fallen below Giannis. Not points per game, total points on the season. But anyways, he's been obviously stepping up in the interim with injuries and whatnot. So I give him a lot of credit. And he's going to be the one that comes in there and does take a lot of mid-range shots. Him and DeMar DeRozan. Brooklyn actually very bad at stopping the mid-range shot here. So I'd look at Fox. His number's probably going to be a little bit too high. And in fact, if we get an updated number right now, it was a little too high earlier, but now we have no major injuries. His number is 27 points, yeah. Maybe I'd consider a DeMar DeRozan look as well, because he's going to get a lot of mid-range opportunity, but gets injured, kind of banged up. Like, he just hasn't been as Mr. Consistent. But yeah, head-to-head, I guess we can use that against Brooklyn. He's gone for 24, 27, 31 in his last 3. Those were obviously on a different team, though. But DeMar and De'Aaron probably would be what I look at for points props here. From a total perspective, the Nets are going to try and slow this one down, and Sacramento isn't all that fast of a team either. 7th slowest team in the league so far this year, so I'll lean towards the under 222. If I had to rank all of these, it would probably still be Sacramento. I think that this is a bounce-back spot for them, but again, I'm not like fully there. Sacramento, then the player props, and then that total. So that total isn't something that I'm in love with, because we've seen Sacramento have plenty of games this year where they say, okay, let's go beat Utah 121-117, blowing this number away. You know what I mean? Let's go beat Phoenix 127-118, that type of thing. So yeah, 127. I think they scored 127 against Phoenix again too. So there we go. That's probably why I stay off of the total. But overall, guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. I'm sorry that last game's kind of muddy, but like I even mentioned, that Sacramento team confuses the heck out of me. But guys, it's going to wrap it up. Hope you guys do enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.